this video I'll be covering some basic movement. So in order to find the movement in Hotline Miami, you're going to want to find object player mouse, which is here. And or you can just do Control R and type in object player mouse like that, and it'll give you the same thing. So movement is controlled by a specialized script that's located in the step event of object player mouse. So if we search here, sorry, player mouse keyboard, I think it was. No, okay. Player move keyboard. Yep. So the script is here. It doesn't matter where you put it in the thing, so long as it's contained within the step event. So now the important thing is to actually find that script. So in the build, it should be all the scripts and everything should be alphabetical. But if not, you can go to this and right-click and sort by name. So you want to scroll down to scrPlayerMoveKeyboard, which is here. Now, I'm just going to be discussing some of the various things which will be contained in this build. So, this first variable, if global.xbox equals 1 script Xbox player move, there's a separate script, which is, we can take a look at for a second, which controls how the Xbox responds. And, generally, I don't really use this, but if you want to like, optimize it for, Xbox, then you would have to address each one of these individual scripts. So we're going to ignore that for a second, so we can just type in initialize Xbox. Now, if it doesn't, well, if the Xbox controller isn't plugged in, then it goes to this else statement and it begins this. So if instance exists object mask menu or instance exists object phone conversation, nothing equals 1. So basically this means if the mask menu or a conversation like / dialog box is open, do nothing. So this basically means that you can't move. Else global.test equals 1 equals 0. Test is just a variable created in this that controls it's just a variable that controls whether or not like things are active. So for example, if you're in an elevator, for example, if your player character enters into the elevator, touch equals 1, which is a variable inside the object elevator, and global.test equals 1, so that basically freezes you in the elevator so you can't move around. Persistent is a value that controls the persistence of objects in rooms. This basically translates to how objects' properties are carried across rooms. So these things you generally shouldn't worry about. Okay, so this is where you want to start. So my speed is the variable used to control speed. So my speed is set to 3, so this is the default speed, and this is equal to 3. Factor is the factor of which the player moves, so speed multiplier by which the player moves. And generally you don't want to change the factor. I mean, you could, but alright. So anyhow, this is where the real stuff begins. So the first one is the movement speed of the biker character. Biker moves at 3.5, so slightly faster than the normal player character or jacket. As you see, he moves at 3.5, and we'll say that this equals to 3.5. You can change this to anything you like. Generally, I don't go over like a 4.5 or if you want to really push it to 5, because then the character becomes uncontrollable. But if you just want to dick around or whatever, you can do whatever you want. So global.mask index equals 5. This basically corresponds to the mask you want to make. So for example, you can get a total complete list of the masks along with their respective mask index in the script not that one. I think it's get mask names. No, yeah, mask get names. mask get name here, and this basically, each one of these numbers corresponds to one of these separate values. So for example, global.mask index equals 5, you would just correspond it, so equals Graham, which is the rabbit, which is walk fast, and then Brandon, which is 16, as you can see here, will be walk faster. And I'm going to discuss the mask powers in general in an overview video later, but anyhow, this is the movement speed of Graham, which is walk faster, and this is also equal to 3.5 like Biker. And like I said previously, this is the movement speed of what's his name? Brandon, which is walk faster. And this is equal to 4, and I'm going to correct this, so this is walk fast, sorry. Alright, this, if place meeting XY equals object shadow or object shadow V, this controls, this is a very specific instance in which the player is walking up and down the stairs in his house. So, movement speed in house. Basically, it slows the player character down in his house so that he walks a little bit slower as if he's going down the stairs. This is not so important. You can ignore that. P-Walk Girlfriend. This is the movement speed when holding hooker in decadence. And it's half normal speed, half of default speed. And this is the movement speed when in the hospital. So both of these together. Now this is where it gets interesting. Global mask 20. If we go back to script mask get name, mask is Nigel. Nigel is a bat. He reverses controls. So if we look here, what's going on is if the keyboard check direct is the global.write key. So if we look up global.write key, we can find that it's initiated in load keys. So load keys is basically a file that says that contains the variables in which you're basically setting your key inputs. So for example, its default A is left, D is right, W up, S down, and those are stored in this keys. And it uses an array here, which I'm not really going to talk about right now, and saves it to an ini file, which is keyboard.dat. So if we look here, keyboard.dat, and you want this file to store your the data for your key bindings. But since this will be a relatively basic command, we're not going to talk about like save files and stuff. So anyhow, this is saying if, first of all, if we're wearing the mask, and if we're pressing the right key or whatever corresponds to the right key, so default D, then what you want to do is you set my X speed, which is the X speed, if my X speed is greater than or equal to negative my Y speed, which is the Y movement, my speed is equal to negative equals 0.5, which basically means it's subtracting 0.5 in the opposite direction. So this equals negation or equals negative will negate it. So basically, what you're doing is from Nigel's mask, you're just reversing everything using this negative equals. Okay, so otherwise, this is normal controls without any masks, which is redundant, I guess. So basically here, if you're pressing left and you want to go negative equals 0.5, and if you're pressing right, then so on and so forth. And it just keeps on doing it. So basically this says if keyboard, okay, this basically addresses conflicts in direction, I guess. Basically, so this, if you're unfamiliar with programming, this exclamation mark basically means if keyboard check direct ordinance of the right key. So basically, if you're not pressing the right key and you're not pressing the left key, then your speed is equal to whatever this is, this value. And if you're in the same way, if you're not pressing up and you're not pressing down, then your speed is equal to this. Okay. So script move solid on controls solids. Solids are basically an object class that I'll discuss in a later video when talking about furniture, and it controls like the collision detections. All right. This code controls the leg index. So basically, in each character, so for example, if we open Object Player Mouse and we go to create, then we can see something called leg index, and this is basically controlling the leg movements. So if we look at sprite player legs, okay, sprite legs. Okay, so we have legs here, and these are Jacket's default legs. And in the draw event of player mouse, we can get the leg index here, and this draws the legs. So, I mean, I don't know why you would want to change the legs, but if you do, the code is in draw here and in script move keyboard. Object dizzy. This is the dizziness effect that occurs, the tinnitus effect. Tinnitus effect in trauma, and basically controls the dizziness and how like the screen blurs or whatever, and how long the character like goes down. Script is walking. Basically, is the player walking? Is the player moving rather? If yes, then increase speed or increase the image index of the legs. So basically, it controls, it makes the legs move back and forth. Now, all this stuff is just dealing with legs. This right here, if absolute X speed, this controls just general initializations of speed. So actually all of this. And then that's pretty much it. Yeah, so if you want your player to move faster, you basically want to deal with this. If you want your player to move like in reverse, you want to deal with this. If you want to change the keys, well actually no, you don't. There's already a default command in that, so that doesn't really need to happen. I'm not going to be going over Xbox controls in any of my tutorials because I generally actually have no idea how to use them. But other than that, that's pretty much movement speed. So yeah, anyways, thank you for watching the video. Have a nice day.